Hello, hello. Recording a podcast, not a post-employment podcast, PEP Talk. Today I got some guests. We got Aditi on my right in the car and Brandon in the back.
Hello. Hello.
All right, what are we talking about today, boys? On our 10-minute drive back home.
The meaning of Christmas.
The meaning of Christmas. Well, I already have a PEP Talk on holidays and why you should celebrate them. It's also March.
I just saw those Christmas lights and that was the first thing that came to my mind.
All right. Christmas lights. So you let your environment determine your thoughts.
No.
Interesting.
Not normally.
No?
But when I'm under pressure, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you normally think?
What do you mean how? It's instinctual. It's not conscious.
You don't think consciously?
What I'm thinking of is not consciously decided most of the time.
Interesting. Really? Oh.
I mean, like, when I'm just living life, I'm not, like, consciously deciding, oh, I'm thinking about this now. It's just, like, something will come up. I mostly think about theology, and so that's just always on my mind, for instance. But, like, whatever subject I'll be thinking about, that just randomly pops up, and it's like, oh, I'm going to be thinking about blank.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've explained to you guys how I think before. The 3-track mind, like different parallel paths running in sync that I hop between.
Yeah. I'll have a 2-track mind sometimes where I'll think, where I'm playing a song in my head and then thinking of something at the same time, and it gets confusing. I lose track of what I'm trying to think about when there's this stupid song playing in my mind at the same time.
Gotcha. What about you, Brandon? How do you think?
I just spend most of my time in the nothing box.
Hey, let's go! Nothing box. What is a nothing box, Brandon?
It's when your brain just sits there and thinks about nothing. You just kind of zone out, but not really.
Bro is not the thinker.
I am not.
Isn't the thinker naked?
There's a meme where there's just like a kid who's doing the pose, and then this guy's like, "You're not the thinker, bro.
You're not that guy.
You're not the thinker.
You're not that guy." Nothing box. It's this is a hot take. Most women don't have a nothing box.
That's crazy to me.
I can't remember if we talked about this or
We
not.
did.
We did talk about this? Yeah, I only know of one woman who has expressly stated that she has a nothing box, and she recognizes that she is very different from her peers in that respect. But men across the board have one. And it's very interesting. It's like there's an analogy out there that women's minds are like spaghetti, and men's minds are like lasagna, in the sense that for men, everything's separated in discrete layers, and they're disjoint from each other. And there's this nothing space in between. But for women, it's all interconnected and interspersed, and everything's just not tangled, but everything leads to something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And I'm not a woman; I can't address the accuracy of that statement, but that's what I've heard.
It's 2024. You can be one if you want to.
It's kind of bigoted, Daniel.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Cancel him.
All right. Well, I have been working on my woman's voice. Anyway, ironically.
Yeah.
Although when I had a sore throat last week, I could not practice singing or talking in other voices.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to stretch my vocal range. I tend to pick up new instruments for the Lord's sake of new ways to worship Him. And I thought keyboard was going to be the next one because I have a big 88 key in my room. But I've realized that keyboard is not, very much so, not what I'm motivated right now. And my voice is. So I've been trying to stretch my range and actually control my tone. Because when I was in high school, my music teacher seriously considered and worked with me to see if I was tone deaf or not. But I could not sing in key for the life of me, and it took much practice just to even be in the same vocal range, let alone the same key. The voice is the hardest instrument to play, and the one I've been practicing all my life. So
Yeah.
trying to get it down. Not like performance level, but maybe. You know, because I can't sing and play guitar, but I can kind of sing and play bass because it's much simpler than a guitar, generally speaking.
I always thought that if I put effort into developing my voice, I could be a really good singer.
Oh yeah.
But then I was like, that's effort though.
Well, yeah.
I'm okay with being mediocre.
Why mediocre though? Why? Does God ever desire mediocrity from us?
He accepts our mediocrity if it is in faith.
Sure.
And in the end of days, in the new heavens and the new earth, when I join in the angels' choir, my voice will be so melodious and pleasing to the Lord. And so I await that day. But
Lazy.
Shut up.
Life packed up. Man. What about you, Brandon? You excited for singing with the angels?
I think so. I like singing, but I'm not good at it. But do you think there's room for improvement in heaven?
Good question.
Define what you mean by that.
Like you can get better at singing, for example, with more practice.
I don't think there's going to be anyone who's bad at it, but maybe you can get better. There's an eternity, but that's tough to think about.
I don't know about getting better at something because in our union with the Lord, particularly in heaven, we share in His perfections. We share in His glory.
Yep.
So I can't imagine I can't imagine developing in skills, for instance.
But there will be work
Yeah.
in heaven.
We don't know what it looks like, so it's weird to think about. But just thinking about heaven, it's hard to grasp your mind around because it's infinite, and you're seeing the face of God, which is infinite joy that we can only experience finitely, yet it infinitely compounds. Infinite joy begets infinite joy.
It's a lot of joy.
It's a lot of joy. So it's so hard to wrap our minds around because God is an incomprehensible being. You can't even put Him in a category. There's no real thing such as the category of God because He is so indescribable. And it's just
That guy just did a kickflip. Sorry.
He did. He didn't do it. He almost did it, but
Yeah. He'll be good in heaven though.
he will, unless he's not going that way. But
Yeah, that's sad.
it's cool to think about, but it's also impossible to wrap your mind around.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, so at least to go back to the question. I don't know if we will have improvement in heaven, but there will be work to do.
Yeah.
And because work is a positive thing, we're not just lazy all day. But it'll be easy. And I know at the very least there's going to be food in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess food, I don't think you're going to have perfect crops ever. Well, not perfect in the traditional sense, but there's going to be variation in the crops or farming or food preparation. Every dish isn't going to be identical. So you could probably claim that some dishes are better than others.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how you define good and better and best in terms of a perfect reality.
Yeah.
It'll be a new type of existence that we don't have vocabulary for.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So how do we make heaven on earth? How do we do that? How do we make your kingdom come, your will be done?
Go to church.
Sure.
That's where I'm preaching on this tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll be talking about, I'm going through the latter half of Ephesians 2. So the end of that is about God's building of the temple, mystically and universally considered, and then locally considered in verse 22 in the Church of Ephesus. And Brandon is getting a sneak peek.
Oh.
How could you? But just thinking about, God, it says that God's dwelling. He's building you, the church in Ephesus, up to be a dwelling place by the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So, in Song of Solomon, the church is called a garden locked, a cistern enclosed. See you, Brandon.
Yeah, get out of my car, Brandon.
Thanks for the ride.
Brandon is leaving the pep talk.
Yeah. And
Thanks, man.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye. And in John Gill's Systematic, he talks about how the Garden of Eden is compared to the church, or the church is compared to the Garden of Eden as a garden, as a place of refuge. So, heaven on earth, well, that's where God is, where God says he'll be. And God says he'll be in his church.
Right.
That's where he'll dwell.
Well, interesting. Is the church a garden, or are we a city?
Both.
Okay. Because I know, like,
Yes.
Revelation talks about it. It's the city of God, not a garden of God.
Yeah, so it's both. I'd say you have so many motifs going on because it's so beautiful. There's like a ton of things. You have garden imagery, and then you have city imagery that, like, Augustine wrote an entire huge book on this, the city of God. But, like...
Is it a tale of two cities?
Yeah, actually it is. The earthly city and the heavenly city. That's exactly what it is.
Wow, interesting. That was a quip that turned into reality.
Yeah,
right there.
but...
Spoke that one into existence.
There's just so many, like, motifs about what heaven is like. And then here on earth, in the chaos of the world, we have a place of refuge. We have a place of joy.
Indeed.
And that's the church.
Which I know you, in your first 2 years of your faith, you didn't really have that.
Yep.
For your sake. So as someone who has this faith, but then walked into the refuge, what was that feeling? What was the night and day on that one?
It changed everything, because, like, for my first 2 years, I was just going at it alone. I was just, the most Christian, like, experience I had was, like, in my high school, there was a Christian club that I attend, but I didn't really measure them all that well. It wasn't a real community for me. And then coming to our church here, it was just, I could feel God there. Like, I knew that God was working, because that's where he said he would be working. And that's not to say he won't work outside of it. Like, obviously he was working on me before it, but, like, the church is the normal means that God has implemented for growth, for equipping the saints to grow in love. Just having people being able to pour out on me, like having Rob and Brian and Preston pour out on me over the years. Rob especially recently with helping me with teaching and stuff like that, and just having a community to have food with, to rejoice with, and to bear each other's burdens with. There's something so deeply intimate about church, about good biblical community that we strive to build. Like, it's called the household of God for a reason, because it is a family. And it's very beautiful. And it's definitely, like, I can say that there was an acceleration of growth whenever I'm on campus and I'm able to be active in the church community than when I'm at home and I can't.
Right. Yeah, and then I know, well, how to put it, you've had extended time away from the church and then came into it, but if you ever have an extended time apart from it again, whether it be
Summer break,
well, yeah, I guess you do regularly.
Yeah.
Summer break, illness, long-standing illness, general apathy, depression even, you do miss it.
Yeah.
And from personal experience, you do miss it.
Yeah.
It also is tricky when it changes. So, I've been a Christian long enough where I had my home church growing up, and then I came here and found Lafayette. And that's also a interesting transition. Because, like, it's all the family of God, but it's different, how to put it, if it's all the kingdom of God, it's different villages in the kingdom. And that's what churches are. They're different towns, different villages. All the same people, but it's everyone is different. There's different flavors, different feels. And it can be tricky adjusting that. Like, I hope BCM goes through this, and my crew does this for the seniors, but there's a lesson on how to find a church, how to pick a good church, because, 99 times out of 100, you're not going to be at the church that you're at now in college.
Yeah.
That's something for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'll be talking about tomorrow, like, what are the essentials you should be looking for, but we don't actually, like, we sort of kind of talk about it, but we don't do a dedicated lesson for people on it.
Yeah. What was really interesting is we did kind of like a white page discussion on it, so we had these big giant sticky notes on the wall, and and everyone would go up and write, what's something you're looking for in a church? And we filled up 3 of the giant sticky notes with stuff that people are looking for in a church. And we kind of all sat down afterwards and were like, okay, this is a lot, and not any church is going to meet all of these.
Yeah.
So what's important to you? What's important to actually just having a church have this? What's doctrinal, and what is preference? And it opened my eyes a bit of like, okay, there's a lot more variation than I thought there was.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of wrestling with that now, like moving. Because I was looking in this area, still am, because I like the way the gates are open. But that one wasn't, which is the one that needed to be open because they closed off Campus Drive there. Yeah. Yeah, like moving up to if I move to Towson, where my work is, like, do I start attending my old church again? I mean, I like Lakeview because it's small. My old church is several hundred people on a Sunday, and it's very different feeling. It's more suited for kids. Like, there's really good youth programs that I grew up in, and there's a school attached to it. Like, it's a completely different shift in how that church serves the community compared to how we do. And it's a completely different church environment. And so do I want to move back there? Do I want to find something else in that area? Do I want to keep staying here and just commute? Because, like, I mean, I'll sacrifice that for family good.
Yeah.
Like, it's a drive. I can do a drive.
Yeah.
I do a drive for work every week. I won't be driving to work. I'll be walking to work. So I'm just replacing one drive for another. Like, these are all considerations for what village of God I take up residence in going forward. At the end of the day, it's like, got to make a decision, you know, at some point. And hopefully God walks with me on that one.
Yeah.
But he will. But, yeah. So, anyway, this is how PEP Talks work. I'll probably keep it recording because I'll say some more stuff on my way home. But it's very cathartic, as you can tell. Like, you just talk. And most of the time, it's just me. So, because I like to talk.
Yeah. True.
But I'll call this episode Theology with Friends. I think that's the appropriate one.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good night. I'll see you
after your spring break.
After spring break.
All right.
See you.
See you, bro. Love you.
Love you too.
Cool. That was Aditya. That was Brandon. Aditya was the one just talking. Anyway, thanks for listening to my friends and I talk about various things, kind of unprompted. We didn't really have going into this, didn't really have an agenda. We actually just came from community group because I was dropping them off because I picked them up. But, yeah, I'm not surprised that it wound up talking about theology. If you ever meet Aditya, which I doubt you will if you're listening to this, if you ever met him, he's a man who became a Christian during high school, but during COVID, and his parents are currently hostile to the gospel, and so he wasn't allowed to go to church for the first 2 years of his faith, which is a really cool story how he came to faith even in that. But he wasn't allowed to go to church, so he ended up doing a ton of reading on Christianity in general. And even now, he keeps up with it. He's very well learned, very knowledgeable on the tenets of our faith, as well as the theology behind it, and what various church fathers and historical traditions are. And he's very well educated and has made his decisions based on that too, alongside his faith. And I respect him for that. He's younger than me. He's at this point, he's a sophomore. I graduated, but he's a sophomore in college. And I really appreciate it. Now, Brandon in the back, he's a little quiet on this one because he's in the back, but he's a recent Christian, like within the last year. He got baptized 2 weeks ago at our church. And his family's also not Christian at all. Not his brother either. Neither, I guess. And he has this very simple, I don't want to say simple faith, but that's kind of what it is. It's a childlike faith in a good way. It's a faith that I can appreciate, that's refreshing, that is honest and genuine. And it is one that is practical too. Like, it's not just based on feeling; it's rooted, it's solid. And I really like just his willingness to show up, to learn, to be there. And even if he's kind of just in general a more deadpan person, is how he talks. Actually, the most excited I've ever seen him was when we were last weekend. We were playing games. We were at a game night that my friend Josh was hosting. And he's actually the only guy who listens to these PEP Talks consistently. Currently, I think. But Josh was there and he was hosting. And Brendan really likes the game Coup. So when Josh brought out the game Coup, Brandon was all excited. He's like, "Wait, you have Coup?" And like elevated his voice and put an exclamation point on it. Like, I'd never heard him more excited, even at his baptism. As I joke with him. It was really good. He won the first round. But yeah. So, anyway, I just got home. Thanks for listening to this post-employment podcast. It's about 10-something at night. It's a little bit of a later one. But I appreciate you tuning in on this Wednesday after evening. It's an evening. Yeah, stay frosty. Good night and goodbye.